Hi, and welcome back to Broken and Brilliant. I am Carrie O'Toole, and I'm joined once again by my friend Robbie Yopes. Thanks for coming back.
How are you, Carrie? It's good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here again. Robbie, we've just been talking a lot about, through the podcast, whether you've been our guest or not, the podcast is really about talking to people who have been through really difficult times in their life, where they've found themselves just feeling broken.
Right.
And how do you move from that place into a place where you feel somewhat resolved,
right,
or to a place where you feel like you're alive again?
Exactly. And you know what? If you don't mind, I have some questions for you because I'm curious about a couple things.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
You bet. This
switch places
you
a little bit.
Do we need to move?
No, I think we're okay.
We're good.
Your ministry is called Broken and Brilliant. Why?
Well,
I mean,
I understand.
I understand broken in as you just said, broken places in our lives, but why brilliant?
Well, several years ago, I was at a women's retreat, and when we've talked in the past, you've shared that sometimes you hear things from the enemy of your soul that just kind of beat you up. And that was the topic of this women's retreat that I had gone to. And they were talking about the names that we hear that are really unflattering and really hurt us.
Sure.
And what we were asked to do was get a little rock. And this sounds a little strange, but we were going to write the name that we hear, that ugly name that we hear. And so I wrote mine, and mine was stupid.
Oh.
And I had felt stupid my whole life. And, where it came from, I'm not really sure. But I questioned my intelligence for a long time. I constantly felt like I was saying things that were stupid. I'd do something, it's like, oh, that's so stupid. I just heard that all the time.
Right.
If I would trip in front of people, everybody trips. But I would just, this shame would just wash over me, and I would feel so horrendous. And there was one other thing. I had always wanted to be one of those people that when somebody was in your presence, you kind of shone, in something kind of came out of you that just people would go, oh, what is that? That's so awesome. But I wasn't that person. So that was something that I dreamed that I wanted. So I was at this retreat, and she had us go get these little rocks, and I wrote my name stupid on there. Then we painted it over in white. And what that symbolized was that Jesus can make something new from you. So
that's beautiful.
I painted the white. Well, here was the clincher for me. She said, now I'm going to send you off, and you're going to just pray about this for a while and ask God if he'll give you a new name. I was done in. And the reason for that was I had been asking to hear God's voice for decades, and I could not hear him speak to me.
Right.
So the minute the woman said that, I immediately went to this place of, there's a couple hundred people here. I'm going to be the one person that will not hear something. And we're going to come back, and I'm going to have to, my rock is blank,
Right.
Great, I went from stupid, but now I'm blank. Yeah, so I thought that I was going to be the one coming back that would have a blank rock. And I was really scared to pray because I had been through a couple of experiences where I had met with people, and they have actually guaranteed me that I would hear God's voice and hear him speak to me as we sat there, and I didn't. And so it kept settling in that this will never happen for you. And I desperately wanted to hear him. So I kind of went off by myself for a minute, and God knew me. He already knew that I was getting worked up. And so just even to pray the prayer, I was scared.
Right.
And he knew that. And so this was what was amazing to me. I heard a word almost at the minute I started asking. And it was so funny because I can't think and speak at the same time. I just start talking, and then I have to rest for a minute to gain a new thought. So it was funny that this word came to me at the moment that I was speaking. And what actually happened from that was I started to learn that God would interrupt me sometimes. And he did that not to be rude, but to help me understand that really was him.
Nice.
And so I started writing down what I heard when he interrupted me.
Such a good God.
What was so cool was the word that he gave me was a word that I don't typically use. And it canceled out stupid And it also was a word that says,
oh,
there's a shimmer
yes.
in here, and it was the word brilliant.
Brilliant.
So I came home from that retreat. I still have the rocket sitting out at my desk here. It's got little glittery things on it. And it became my email address, and not as an arrogant thing, but to remind me that that's who God says I am. I am not stupid. I'm brilliant. And
that's fantastic.
It actually gave me the courage to go back to graduate school, which I never thought that I could. For some reason, I thought I was a music major. So my writing in college was things like analyzing music and writing chords and writing notes with staff. Now they don't even do that. It's all computer. But I had to do it by hand, and we used a little credit card to draw our note stems. This kind of stuff back in the old days when you actually had to do it yourself. And it was painstaking work. It was hard, but it was not like writing words and research and all of that. So I didn't ever have to do that in college. So I wanted to go back to school to get my degree in marriage and family therapy, and I was terrified. And I think I delayed it for 2 or 3 years because of the fear that I wouldn't get into the grad school. I thought I'm going to have to take a GRE, which, I haven't been in school for so long. I ended up finally going to apply and found out that my GPA in my undergrad degree had actually been high enough and I didn't have to take it.
Oh, fantastic.
So I got in, ended up...
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it?
That is brilliant. God just shimmering and showing his brilliance over you.
Right.
And so that became your ministry,
yes.
Broken and Brilliant.
Right. It's actually Carrie O'Toole Ministries, but that's our tagline.
Broken and Brilliant. That's wonderful. Now, I know you do these intensives.
Yes.
And I heard you have a 3-day intensive coming up.
I do. I have one coming up in May. It's May 5th through the 7th, so 5th, 6th, 7th, and we're up in Breckenridge, Colorado.
Oh, beautiful place.
It's wonderful, and we do this at a resort up there, which seems maybe a little weird, but, I just find people need beauty when they're trying to work through some hard stuff in their lives. And so when you can go to a place that they can leave everything behind, they have no work that they have to get back to. There's no laundry. They don't have to cook for themselves. They don't have to rejoin the world. They can kind of come up there for those 3 days, and it's like a little cocoon.
Right.
Where they can feel safe, and they can feel like they can really let down and allow themselves to go through this journey.
Well, let's talk about that journey. What do you do the 3 days?
Well,
what's it for?
It's 3 days, and it's a relationship group. It's an intensive, and what that means is it's pretty intense.
Is it all women?
Not necessarily.
Women.
It has been all women. It has been. I've had men. We've had people anywhere from age 17 up to 66.
Okay.
And we've had married couples. I've had one part of a couple come at one point, one come at a different one.
Okay.
I've had singles, we've had divorced, we've had separated, everywhere, all over the place.
Okay.
And basically, this is for people who find themselves struggling in relationships. Their relationships are just not what they wanted them to be, or hoped that they could be, or know that they could be.
Okay.
And they're trying to figure out, what is going on here? Maybe I've been in a marriage for 15 years, and I know there's got to be more to this relationship stuff. What's my part in that? What is going on? What am I bringing into this that's, causing this not to be where I want it to be? Or maybe I keep having failed relationships, or maybe I can't find a relationship. And I really want to be in relationships and it doesn't have to be necessarily a romantic relationship. Maybe you struggle with work relationships and people keep coming up to you and you hear the same thing over again. Right. You're really standoffish, or, those type of comments. And you're like, what's that about?
Right.
So what I learned through my life experiences with our adopted son, and then recognizing, so he had some attachment issues, and I started recognizing that I actually had some issues in relationship. And so when I went back to grad school, every paper that I did, I focused on this whole idea of attachment. What is this? And if you don't attach well, or what I've discovered is that traumatic events in somebody's life can actually impact their relationship style.
Sure.
And so most of us have an insecure relationship style. Now, statistics would say that 50% of the population has a secure ability to form relationships. But I don't think that they're including people who have been through traumatic events in their life, because that messes with your brain.
Right.
And so basically we divide this up and we talk about what is a secure relationship. What does it look like? We do some teaching, there's video, there's film that we watch so that people can see it and experience it. Because sometimes when you sit and just talk about it, it's like you feel like you're in school or whatever.
Right.
So we do a lot of experiential. Yeah, and it's very interactive. There's never more than 8 people in a group.
Okay.
So they get to know each other pretty well. And
Nice.
what's cool is a lot of times when they get there, they're very hesitant, but we do some things that help them let down and recognize they have to sign a confidentiality contract.
Sure.
Because this is not something you want to have.
What happens in Breckenridge?
Yeah,
Stays in
we don't want it
Breckenridge.
on Facebook. Yeah. So we sign something about that.
Excuse me.
You bet. So, bless you.
Goodness.
We want to make sure everybody feels safe.
That's it.
And they can sneeze all they want.
I'm so
and
sorry.
it's okay. So that's kind of what it is we want this to be a safe place for
Right.
people. So we go through the different styles, and I'll just name them real quick.
Okay.
One is an avoidance style.
Now, this is an attachment style?
I call it relationship styles.
Relationship
because
style.
Attachment sounds too
It does
counsel-y,
a little bit, yeah.
clinic-y
Okay, so
kind of
these
thing.
are relationship styles.
Relationship styles, yeah. So we've got some people may have a secure style. They're probably not the ones who need to come. But then we've got people who've got an avoidance style, and that's basically people who, I'm just fine. I don't need anybody else. I'm good on my own. And what they find is their partners, their family may say, I really have a hard time relating to you. I'd
Right.
like you to open up a little bit more. I'd like you to be a little more in this with me. So
Totally
if you're
understand
constantly hearing, you're a lone ranger,
Right.
and I'd like more from you.
Talk to me.
Please.
Right.
That would be you. There's an anxious style, and this is my style. This is where you think about relationships a lot. You're wanting a deeper relationship, constantly feeling anxious about, am I okay in this? Did I say that? There's just,
Right.
there's an anxiety that goes on with that. Then there's a pleasing style, which actually has an anxious core to it as well. But this would be the person who can't say no and is constantly doing things, trying to get others.
People pleasing.
Yeah. And then the other one is what we would call chaotic. And that typically comes when you have been raised in a home where there's addiction going on,
Right.
possibly mental illness, maybe abuse or neglect, or real severe tragedy kind of thing going on where maybe a fire has destroyed your home or car accident and family members were killed. Things like that where it's just life-shattering kind of things. And what ends up happening there is your brain kind of gets hardwired for drama. Mm-hmm. And then when you don't have that chaos, it's really hard to come back down and be
Right.
okay with that. So we talk about that. We address what the styles are. Everybody kind of starts relating, oh, I see myself there. Oh, that's my spouse. You
Right.
start to be able to identify that. And then we move, the second half is very much experiential. By that point, these people know each other and they really care for each other. And we're able to work through, well, now that you know where you're at, where do you want to go? How do we get there?
Right.
And so we start a process of growth.
If I go and I discover my style, and I go because I know my relationship with my husband, my boyfriend, my best friend, it's not working. So I go, I discover my style. When I leave after 3 days, what will happen? What's the difference?
Well, I think it's going to depend on how open you are and if you've done any work on yourself in the past, because change is typically a little bit longer process than 3 days.
Sure.
But what I've found is if people have been doing a little bit of work ahead of time and they've really been going, wow, I want to know this. I have done some stuff, dealt with some of my issues in my past. This could be a launching point where they really come out of there feeling solid in what they need to do and how to do things differently. Some
nice.
people come out of there going, I've never heard this before. And it's kind of the beginning of their growth path.
Right.
So, and some people are a little bit in the middle, but I've had people come out of there saying, my counselor could not believe where I was at after 3 days. I came home and I'm transformed, and they're like, "What are you doing up there? My goodness." So I think that it can take the place of a chunk of time.
Right.
It's going to cut down a lot.
It is an intensive.
It's an intensive for a reason, but it does the work that you can do.
How does someone sign up for this?
Well, I have a website, carryotoole.com.
Okay.
And if you go to, first of all, on the first page there, right as you go there, there's a flyer, and you can click on that and it'll send you there. Or go to the coaching page, and there's a place there where you can register for this. And like I said, we've got 8 spots, a couple are filled. But I'm still, looking for the people who want this.
Right.
So if you're resonating with this,
absolutely, yes,
we need to get you registered by mid-April.
Okay.
So just go to the website or give me a call. My contact information is on my website as well. So we'd love to have you join us, and this could be a start. Spring is a great time to start.
New beginnings, right?
Get into that summer feeling like you've got a grasp on this, and don't flounder anymore.
Well, wonderful.
Come join us.
Thank you, Carrie. You've really answered my questions really well.
Thanks
now
for asking.
I know.
Now you know. Yeah, refer your friends. There you go.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. And if you'd like to join us, please visit us at carryotoole.com. Thanks, and we'll see you again next time on Broken and Brilliant.